So this is our first in a two-part series on options in the transition from secondary school. This will focus on a more traditional secondary school to third level with our friends at Ahead. We're going to be speaking with Lorraine Gallagher, who's their information and training officer. In 2 weeks, we'll be speaking to Sharon from Sullis about apprenticeships and Mick Tehan from Geel about day services and transition services. So if during Lorraine's presentation you want to ask any questions, the chat is open and the Q&A is open. And Lorraine has asked that I pepper in questions throughout the presentation. So ask at any time. This is also being recorded, and I'll send out the recording tomorrow morning, and it will be posted up on the SAM YouTube. So, Lorraine, if you want to get going.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And it sounds really interesting. You've got some really interesting talks lined up. I see that sounds really good. And as was said by Bridget, this is kind of, I suppose, mainstream route into third level. So I'm just gonna kind of cover that as part of my session. But of course, you can ask me any questions you like. And if you want to unmute, feel free to do that as well. Because it makes it more interactive if you want to do that. And as was said, I'm the information training officer. So in terms of information, if you contact Head by phone or by email, you'll probably be talking to me. So it's nice to meet you all tonight, and thank you for being here. I realize it's 7 o'clock in the evening. Many of you will have had your dinner, or maybe you're waiting to have your dinner after this. So I hope you enjoy the session tonight. So what we're going to cover is what we do in Ahead, choosing where to study, getting set up with the disability support services that are available in all mainstream colleges and universities, assistive technology that you can get that's available, and then other supports, student engagement, which is really about, not only is it about engaging in your learning, it's also about engaging in activities in college, because that's part of it is you'd be getting used to a new environment, making new friends, getting involved in activities and stuff. So all about that, and then about graduate support. So that's when you graduate from college, and then what employment options there are, and what we can support you and provide in that area. So I'll move swiftly on. So who in this has a disability? What do you think the disabilities are? Oh, very quiet. Anybody? Did anybody post in the chat there, did you? The chat.
Well, I grew up in a Harry Potter household, and my sibling's dyslexic, so I'm pretty sure I know that Daniel Radcliffe's dyslexic.
Oh, hey. And what about
Ava in chat says that all of them are.
they all are, exactly. They all are. And that's the interesting thing about disability. When we think about disability, we probably think about people that are in wheelchairs or people that are blind, like Stevie Wonder, or people who are deaf. And really, there's a very broad range of people with disabilities in college. So the reason that I'm showing this slide is because it's to let you know that it's a well-trodden path, right? Lots and lots of people with all sorts of disabilities, including autism, go to college. And your disability is actually very common. So don't ever feel like, oh, I'm going to be the odd one out. I'm going not, not going to be able to make friends or find my way around. That simply isn't the case. There are lots of supports, and you are one of many students with autism who will be going to college or university when you finish school. Right? So don't be afraid when you go to college that you won't be supported or that you'll feel lost. There are plenty, and as a first year, actually, as a kind of a what we would call a fresher, um, all freshers are in the same boat. They're all nervous, they're all new. So it's about making the most of your time when you go from school to college. So just in terms of quickly what we do, in case you don't know, so we work across three main areas, right? So the session tonight is about accessing college, right? And so we provide information about applying, the supports available. We also have publications like the Accessing College Guide. We have a helpline, we talk to myself, and then we have a college fair called Better Options, which usually happens in November each year. And some of you may have already attended that. And if not, you can sign up to our mailing list and you'll get information about events as they're coming up that you may want. And we also work with policy, so policy around inclusive education, making sure that like yourselves are included in education, get the support they need. And then once you're in college, you could be phoning me about maybe a problem you're having in college, and I will talk you through how to solve it. Or it could be on the phone or it could be an email, but we'll be going through any supports and how to get them if you're in college and you need that. We also talk about and give information about disclosure. And disclosure is really about telling somebody, um, whether that be again in written or you're actually telling somebody or verbally that you have a disability. So what that means. So when you disclose to a college, then they're obliged actually to carry out what's called a needs assessment. And that's really a conversation around what your needs are going to be while you're in college in the learning environment, right? And then, of course, when you're in, you've got your qualification, whether that's in further education or whether that's in higher education, then you're thinking about actually moving into the world of work. So we provide some information around that. And then we work with the Union of Students Ireland. And we've just had Quiva, who was here tonight, can't be here tonight, but she was running the Power of Disability event actually held in February. So we also do things like staff training, and again we do publications and conferences and stuff. So there's lots of stuff going on in ahead for people that are students and staff that work in further and higher education. Then, of course, moving into the world of work, again, the disclosure is a bit more difficult in terms of going to work, whereas in college you're actively, encouraged to disclose. But for some of you, you may feel nervous about that when it comes to going to work. So we have a guide around telling your employer about your disability, which you can get on our website, or I can send you the links actually. And then we have the WAM, which is Willing Able Mentoring Placement Program. And then we have publications. Again, we have, you can get advice and help from us. And then we have our annual careers fair, Building the Future. We have interview prep and workshops. And I'm going to go into this in more detail as part of this presentation. So just in terms of what we do, I hope this actually works now. I'm not sure whether I had the sound switched on. I know it has subtitles. So I'm just going to see if it works a little bit.
So there's not any sound coming up, but I
I
can
know,
send, yeah,
yeah. Well,
I
turn it
might,
off, or
I can
is there
send it in the follow-up email to everyone.
actually, maybe I'll stop that, and I'm going to be sharing this presentation anyway, so you can
Yeah.
actually listen to it at your leisure. Sorry about that, everybody. Um, so move on. So, so choosing where to study, right? So when you're thinking about where you want to go, right, you should really, if you can, go to the actual open days, because when you go to the open days, you get an idea of the size of the campus, where it is compared to where you live, how you're going to travel there. Can you get to the college easily by public transport, or will you have to find accommodation either on campus or nearby? And accommodation is one of those things, if you are thinking about, say, for example, you live in Dublin and you're thinking about going to Galway to study, you know, you'd have to think about, like, am I gonna go to the college and get accommodation there, or am I going to go and get accommodation in Galway City? And because accommodation is, hard to find for everybody at the moment, you'd need to be going, you know, early before you make the final decision around where you're going to go, kind of planning ahead in terms of thinking about where you're going to go. So if you'd like to post in the where in the chat box, where are you hoping to actually study? Anybody? Anybody who's thinking about, who's maybe in fifth or sixth year, and where you might be thinking about going? Where do you live now? Where are you thinking of going? You might be thinking of going to more than one place. Anyone got any ideas? Or you can unmute and tell us. Hi, Annette. So your son is hoping to go to Cork. Oh, Richard, thank you. Blackrock Further Education Institute. That's a very nice college as well. That's up the road from the head office. TUT Tala. It's a nice campus as well. Thank you, Heather. The National College of Art and Design, Siobhan. I went there. I am a graduate of that college all them years ago. A great college. It was actually on the bus route. It was great. Great. So there's a few great options for people. So if you have a disability, oh, somebody here, sorry, my daughter wants to go to Waterford College of Further Education and they live in Wexford. Yeah, so is she going to get the bus? Is there a bus, I wonder, Eileen, or is she going to stay in Waterford? She'll probably stay in Waterford. Well, do you want to unmute? Or are you okay? Anyway, so in terms of orientation, right? Orientation is when you go, and this particularly happens when you start college. Orientation is about finding your way around the college, and it's usually done in groups, right? So orientation usually happens in the first week when you register. There's orientation on for all the students. However, if you have a disability, you can join a separate orientation, or indeed you can have one on your own if you so wish, right? But you have to specify that's what you want. But there are different types of orientation. And then, say for example, if somebody was a wheelchair user, that's why we'd say to them as well that you need to go and check out the campus before you go, just to check it out and see is it actually accessible. So it depends on what your needs are, but I always advise people to go to as many open days as they can, right? Contact the institution and organise one for yourself if there isn't an orientation, but most of them do have them. The big colleges certainly do, right? And it is a good way to introduce who you are and find out a bit about the college itself and get to know the staff. And you might even get to meet the disability officer on that day, right? So that's a good idea. Definitely would recommend orientation, right? And then you'll get a guided tour of the campus, right? And you need to make sure making a note of where things are, right? So where is the restaurant? Where's the canteen? Where are student services, the support and the student union? They're usually all located on the campus, right? And once you kind of get a feel for the place, it makes it easier then when you want to access them. And then some colleges have autism friendly quiet spaces, right? Quiet rooms. There would be things like accessible bathrooms and student-centered spaces, right? So it's important that you kind of get to know where these are, right? And there are also spaces where you can meet others who maybe have the same interests as you, right? So DARE, the Disability Access Route to Education, right, is an entry scheme, an admission scheme actually, for students with disabilities. Some colleges offer reduced points and some don't. But what you'll get is you'll get orientation and supports as part of that, right? Now it's usually the people who are nearest the points requirement may get a place at reduced points, but it depends on the numbers, right? So even though you might be eligible for DARE, there is no guarantee that you will actually get to college using that scheme, right? You might just get a place anyway, right? And you wouldn't know until you get the offer whether or not it was the reduced points because you'll know about what you got your own what your own points were and what the points were for the course, if that makes sense, right? It is really open to students. It's designed for students who have experienced educational challenges due to the fact that they actually have a disability, right? Um, so many DARE students receive extra academic, financial, and well-being support upon entry, right? Some colleges have extra financial schemes that are only open to students with disabilities, right? And you'll also get guidance and advocacy as part of that, right? So needed. So the disability support services, right? You need to, once you are taking your place and you've signed on the dotted line that you're definitely taking your place, you signed the paperwork, accepted your place, right, through the CAO, whatever. You need to then register with the disability office as soon as you start, right? You need to meet with the disability officer for what's called a needs assessment. And the needs assessment is basically a chat with you and the disability officer or the designated member of staff to talk about what your support needs in terms of your disability are while you're in college, right? You will get a final report. Some colleges call it a LENS report, Learning Educational Needs report, right? And this will outline the accommodations that you need, the supports that you need, right? And they're called reasonable accommodations. And these are usually communicated to the lecturing staff or teaching staff, right? Some colleges, the disability service will do that for you, and some colleges will give you a copy of your support recommendations, and you need to talk to the lecturing staff. Colleges tend to vary as to how they do that. But it's definitely one of the key things I would advise you to do is definitely register with the disability support office. And in the previous slide about DARE, the DARE scheme, you disclose on that paperwork that you have a disability. That information gets sent to the colleges in advance of you going there, right? So when you go to the college, they will have information that says, oh yeah, John, Mary, or Betty, whoever is going to be coming here. but it's still very important that you register with the service. I can't overemphasize that. So, in terms of eligibility and application, right, you must provide evidence of a disability and demonstrate its impact on your education, right? So, how did your disability affect you in education, right? The second thing is very important, actually. I got an email from somebody only this week say that they hadn't actually their son hadn't actually registered for the CAO in time and had to do a late application. You must apply through the CAO by the 1st of February and have your account all set up by then in order to apply for the DARE scheme. You absolutely must. There is no late application process for the DARE scheme, right? And you must submit the supporting documents by the 15th of March, right? So that's a very short window in terms of what you have to apply, what you have to supply in terms of your application. So that will include reports from school, that will include any diagnostic reports, etc. They all have to go in as part of that application, right? However, even if you don't qualify for DARE for whatever reason, right, you can still apply for the Disability Support Service when you're actually in college, directly through the College Disability Services. Not all students feel comfortable about disclosing in first year and they may leave it until second year. But I wouldn't advise you to do that because you don't want to be struggling. I'd advise you to register and disclose in first year, right? So a needs assessment, as I said, is really a meeting between the student and the member of the Disability Support Service, right? It's nothing to do with your academic ability. You have got your place in college, you've got your points, you've got your exams, you've earned your place in college. This is really about looking at what you will need to enable you to flourish in higher education and in university life or college life, right? The DARE scheme actually is only open to students who want to go to university. It's not open to anybody who wants to go to further education. That's a different application process, right? A reasonable accommodation is any action that helps to lessen the disadvantage of a disability or a medical condition, right? So a reasonable accommodation could be things like notes in advance, it could be technology, it could be learning support. All of those things will come under what's called a reasonable accommodation. And the reasonable accommodation wording is just the wording that's used in the law. But what that basically means is support, disability support, what that's really referring to, right? So make sure that you go to the Disability Support Service and have all the reasonable accommodations you need to get the most out of your time in college, right? And also, it's not when you meet them in first year, that's not the end of it. You could be in there for a couple of months and realize, actually, I need something different, or I'm finding something else isn't working for me in terms of my support needs. You can go back. Just because you've seen them once doesn't mean that that's it over. Go back. That's what they're there for. Colleges have an open door policy in terms of disability support. So don't be afraid that you can't go back if things are not working out for you. So assistive technology is any device or system or piece of equipment that a person with disabilities can use in terms of making access to information and activities, whether that be online or in person, easier, right? So when we think about technology, a pencil grip technology, you know, those little spongy things at the end of your pencil, right? If you have one of them. Eyeglasses, like my glasses, they're technology. Walking stick, walking aids, they're all low, what we call low tech technology, right? So mid tech would be the spell check in Word or on your computer, on your phone, the mouse, calculator, the TV remote control. That's actually technology, right? And then high tech would be things like screen readers, right? And voice recognition software. We're all very familiar with things like screen reading nowadays, aren't we? And voice recognition software, particularly on our mobile phones. So you're probably very kind of familiar with that. But you can get specialist voiceover voice recognition software like Dragon Naturally Speaking, which a lot of students with, say, dyslexia might use. So it depends on kind of what you're looking for, or website accessibility overlays or plugins. They're all kind of more high-end tech. But technology is one of those things that's developing all the time. And it's becoming, I think it's becoming easier to use, and a lot more stuff now is built in. So things like read aloud in Office 365, Word, or in Google has a lot of built-in accessibility features. So we have a resource called an AT Hive, and it is a library of assistive technology, right? So basically, what you do is you're thinking about, what do I want to do? Is it to do with my concentration? Is it to do with reading? Um, all of those kinds of things. You can put in what you're looking for, answer 3 questions, and it will give you examples of what will help you. Um, so that's really, really good. And it has guides in it, it has reviews, and it has tools, and it has videos of how to use each thing. So it's a really, really good resource. I definitely think you should have a dive into there, right? And then we have ARC, which is, it's more, well, you could do it. They're more geared, I think, towards staff, but they do cover accessibility topics and have certificates to build your knowledge around making stuff more accessible. So you could dive in there as well, and all of that stuff's available on our website. And then the fun part of college is the extracurricular activities, right? So getting involved in the clubs and societies is a great way to make new friends, right? And actually, yeah, gain a lot of new skills and find a new hobby, right? And when you think about college, it's not just about learning, it is about, you know, getting in and enjoying yourself and meeting people who maybe have the same interests as you, right? And that will really, you'll gain experience and you'll feel more confident when you find your tribe, you find your gang, right? And if nothing, this students, clubs and societies, you're thinking, oh, there's nothing that interests me in them. There's no ones that interest me. It could be, we were only talking earlier on, me and Bridget, about Lego, right? You could set up, if it was Lego and that was your idea, you could create your own Lego society, right? So if it isn't available, think about creating something yourself, and that way you'll always find people that are interested in the same things as you. So getting involved with the student union. The Students' Union is an organisation dedicated to ensuring fairness, opportunities, and a voice for the whole student community, right? So that is really about the student voice, and they can advocate on your behalf, right? So sometimes if you're having an issue in college, I might say to you, get onto the student union. They have welfare officers, right, as well, and they're great, and equality officers, and they're a great sounding board, someone to talk to around uh, maybe issues you're having in college. And then you become members once you register as a student. All students are members of the student union. So it's up to you as well to talk about what you'd like to see in the college. So it's not just about them, it's about you working for them, how to improve things in the college when you're in there, right? Every year, the students vote to elect a new team of full and part-time officers. And the full and the part-time officers, they're all students as well, or are former students. And when I say former students, they may have, graduated the year before or that year, and now they're involved in the student union when you go in. So they'd be around, they'd be quite young as well. So you'll have a lot in common with them, right? It's democratic, it's member led. That means that you have a voice in how it runs, right? And they will deal with issues at a local level, right? So there could be stuff going on in the college that you're not happy about. Go to the student union and they will look at it. And they have a union council, right? And that's the highest body within the student union. So they are there to work for you as a student, there for you. That's why it's called the student union. So we have a student with disabilities advisory group in AHEAD, and we run that with the Union of Students in Ireland, right? And it's great, right? Because it is a diverse group of students, and they talk about their time in college, and we look at things like, how their experience can inform the strategies and policies in AHEAD and in the Students' Union and in education in general, right? So we actually gather their voice. The student voice to us is very important, and it really informs our work. Even for me, as the information officer in AHEAD, I will often hear of things that are happening when people contact us. And some of those things will feed into that as well, in terms of ongoing issues that are coming up, will feed in and inform our work. So it really is about the voice and being heard as a student. Um, hold on. So we had the Power of Disability event back in February, which Quiva ran, and it was really, really good. And the recording of it is available on YouTube, and there's a link in this here. And it really is about discussion and presentation. And it's great to hear students talking about their experience and the practical skills and building their advocacy skills that all help you in terms of moving forward. And the skills that you gain in college will help you when you move into the world of work. It's a great experience to get involved in the student union and working in advocacy. And I know it can sound a bit, particularly if you're still in school and you're thinking, how does that, relate to me? Well, it does, and I think I would encourage all of you to, if you get a chance, to look at the YouTube and the video. So it is really about, as it says here, breaking barriers and the misconceptions about what it means to be disabled. And it really is about the power of your disability and thinking about yourself in terms of your added value. You know, Instead of thinking, oh, I'm disabled, I can't, what I can't do or what people don't understand. It's about you having a voice and thinking about what is your added value. You all on this call have added value. Remember, when you're thinking about college and then finishing college, the whole point of going to college is really about thinking about then, what am I gonna do when I finish college? And it is about moving into, I suppose, your careers and your first job, and then when you have your first job, thinking about what am I really interested in. And we have a initiative called Get Ahead, which is really about that transition from college into work. And we have workshops that are designed to really kind of build on your skills and develop your confidence in terms of moving forward. You know, how to talk about your disability and how to talk about what maybe you need at work. And I always say to people, learn about what works for you while you're in college. Because once you learn about what works for you can bring those skills with you into the world of work. This is what worked for me in college. This is what will work for me when I go into the world of work, right? And you also get to meet other graduates if you join the Get Ahead initiative. And we have workshops, right, for things like you know, developing your mental health and encouraging anything to do with supporting each other and well-being. So even things like developing, interview skills, they're all kind of covered under those Think Twice workshops. And if you're, even if it is a further education and training college, you should sign up to the Get Ahead program. There'll be something in it for you. There's some more actually information on this. So it's really about, there's loads of resources. We have events. We have Building the Future Careers event, which is in June this year. We have a blog, so different people talking about, their disability and how that, affected them in work and things they did. And then we have a database of graduates, which you can join as well. So the blog is really about personal experience and tips and, people that maybe are a little bit more experienced than you on this call at the moment, right? Talking about how they got around difficulties or how they might have advocated at work. So you can see a few examples there. Um, Remote work and individual differences, self-advocacy at work, very important, preparing for virtual interviews. And then there's somebody there talking about their WAM, the Willing Able Mentoring Work Placement Program that we run. And you can actually submit your own story as well, so we've loads and loads of resources. So the Think Twice workshops also have things like transferable skills. So that just basically means transferable skills we all have a set of transferable skills, right? So when you go to college, you learn about research, you learn about writing, you learn about communication. They're all transferable skills that you use in all jobs, right? Things like CV writing is very good, very important. Interview preparation, so you feel confident. Closure, how to talk about your disability to potential, and what sorts of assistive technology you could use in work, or even in other areas of your life. And then things like boot camps on working remotely, getting ready to start work, and growing your LinkedIn profile. So things like that. So there's lots and lots of stuff going on that maybe would interest you. So the next, this is an example of one that we ran, building your employability skills on campus. So that's about those transferable skills that you can then transfer into work. And then another great one actually, which was really popular, was revenue, right? Setting up your tax. And so when you start, because if any of you here on this call remembers when you started work and the whole emergency tax, having to pay emergency tax. So the starter kit, and there's a little bit you can watch the actual webinar. So you get loads of tips and tricks on that as well. And then,
So, open for session.
And then this is the event that is Building the Future, and this is going to be in June. And it's usually hosted by City, which is a private bank on the Quays in Dublin City. And as part of that, we have mock interviews. We have a CV clinic, so you can bring your CV. Headshot station, which is a headshot is basically a photograph that you might use as part of your CV or your LinkedIn account. So professional photograph. And then we have an employer exhibition space, and then ahead and WAM, we'd have a stand at that as well. And we'd be advertising jobs as part of the WAM program as well. And there'd be workshops. So the workshops would be things like could be virtual portfolios and stuff like that, and could be presentation skills. The workshops are ran on the day as well. So that's a very, very interesting event, and it's usually very well attended as well. So you should definitely think about that. And that's in June, the date will be confirmed. And if you sign up to our mail out list, we send out a mail out once a week. You'll get confirmation of when that's actually taking place. That event is really aimed at people who are, already in college and thinking about going into work. It's not really aimed at schooling. It was just to say that as well. So what is the WAM program, right? So it's a mentored work placement program, and it really is to widen access to employment for people with disabilities, and it also supports employers to make sure that their workplaces are more inclusive. It's a paid work placement, so the graduates are getting paid, um, but they're also supported, right? So as part of that, then you would be disclosing that you have a disability. If you need support, then you'd be disclosing. It's only open to graduates with disabilities. So the employers that we work with, they offer ring-fenced roles at graduate level. So what ring-fenced means is it's only the graduates that are on our database can apply for those roles, right? And then there is training prior to recruitment and placement. So before you go on your placement, we have a mentee training program as well, which is online. And if you're successful and get a placement, right, we do a workplace needs assessment and ensure that the supports are put in place when you start your placement. And then we have ongoing support from the WAM team throughout the placement program. And the placements run from 6 months up to 2 years, depending on the needs of the particular employer. But it's a great, great program. We set that up because when I actually started in Ahead, we had literally just started that program. And what was happening was graduates were contacting us and they were saying, they've got really good degrees, but they couldn't get work and they didn't know how to talk about the disability. And it was very hard for them to get people to get work. So we set up that program and it's still going. The benefits of WAM are really that the employers get disability awareness training, it's paid, you get a comprehensive needs assessment, and you have the support of a mentor on site. So all WAM graduates have a mentor, right? And basically what a mentor does is a mentor on the first instance will help you settle into the new job. And then as part of that, once you've settled in, you can talk about your career development, how you could maybe move up or get further work when your placement is over. Like we're not a recruitment agency, so we can only offer, if you are successful with a placement, we can offer you a placement for the duration of the time that the employer sets, right? But over 80% of people who do a placement with us will end up with more work, and some of those would be full time. So, but there is that opportunity there for many people to actually end up staying with the company or having more work when they finish. So it's a really, really good option for people as well. And obviously then it is a safe place to disclose. And it's great because then it makes employers more confident about people disclosing a disability, because they feel like they're supported through us to put the supports in place. So you're actually helping the whole company to develop by going and doing a placement. And all you have to do is enroll on the WAM database. And then you get support as well from the WAM team. But again, it's aimed at people who are graduates, so it wouldn't be school leavers. So it would be the aimed at level 6 on the National Qualifications Framework. And then we have WAM frequently asked questions. Since we don't have any sound, I'll leave that out. But you can actually watch that again when this is finished. And there are a few steps to getting involved in the WAM program again because I don't have sound. But it is about recruitment and selection, right? So everybody that applies for the roles, there's not only you applying, it could be a number of people applying for the same role, right? So it is still a competitive process, and it's the employers who select from the application. So you as an individual get sent the jobs that are on offer, and you see something that interests you that's maybe you did a degree in finance or you have a qualification in finance and the job is in finance. So they will select from the application people who hold, the relevant qualifications, and from that, then there is a recruitment and selection process. And then if you're, as I said, if you're successful, we do a needs assessment, which is basically similar to what you would have had in college. We sit down and look at what will you actually be doing in work, and where are the gaps, and where do you need support. And again, just to say, it's very, you're in the mix. We have lots of different types of disabilities. Don't feel like your disability is going to hold you back. It won't. It's mentored, as I said. You'll have a mentor assigned to you from within the company. And then you do get free placement training. And then when you go into a department, the department will provide you on the job training as well. Anyway. That's the placement. And then you have the placement, whatever it is, for 6 months, 2 years duration of the placement. And then at the end, then you do an evaluation. Because we want feedback, because we want to improve the program all the time. And obviously it's important for the employers to get feedback too. So that's it. Any questions? I know there was a lot of information in there. I'm sorry we couldn't play all the videos, but feel free to unmute or post your questions in the chat. Oh, they can't unmute. Okay.
They can raise their hand to unmute, actually. And once they raise their hand, I can unmute them.
Perfect.
Are Ahead services available to mature students as well as immediate school leavers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they are. Hey, Anne, do you want to say, have you a question?
Well, if they're, oh, mhm.
You know what? Yes, Richard, please do email me. My email is there, Lorraine, LORRAINE .Gallagher@ahead.ie, and I can get you added to the list. Absolutely, 100% do that.
And if anyone has any other questions, they can email Lorraine or come to us on the As I Am info line. And I'm going to send out an email tomorrow with a bunch of the resources that Lorraine mentioned. And
Yeah, we've loads of resources. I mean, I skimmed over them there, but it's well worth taking a little dive in, even if you just want to look at, accessing college resources, or maybe you want to look at AT resources, dive in there. And of course, you can contact me directly as well via my email, and any queries you have, there's absolutely no problem at all. Contact me and ask any question.
so if there's no questions, I might say thank you to Lorraine and Ahead for helping us with this. And I hope to see everyone
You're
back
so welcome.
at
Thank you.
the next webinar with Solace and Gil for more information.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks everyone. I know it's late at 8 o'clock for everybody.
Mm.
It's great that you all took the time to come tonight. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, and I hope everyone has a great night.